All right, hello. It is Saturday, August 21st. It is time for another weekly wrap up. Two things happened this week. I decided to quit trying to read 3 books a day, and also school started, so I quit trying like a couple days early. And then also school started, so book wrap ups from now on are going to be more reasonable than like 20 books. I did read 4 books this past week though, so that I think is pretty good. So yeah, we will start off with No Wonderland by Cressida Lindsay. This is about this couple, and they're both awful fucking people, especially Matthew. Yeah, Alice is like this girl, and she's really kind of drifted, and she meets this boy who's like looks kind of gay, and they fall in love. And it turns out he is mostly gay, but he just likes her. And he's awful and jealous, and she's like a teenager, and he's also pretty young. He's like 19, 20, but still, it's gross, and it was not good. It was very meandering. It was interestingly written. It is definitely a product of its time, I do think, because it was published in like 1959, and it reads like one of those. But overall, I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. It was not my favorite. So yeah. Then I read Slumber Party by Christopher Pike, which is about a group of friends who are going to go have a slumber party in this like ski lodge, and then it starts snowstorming and they all get stuck there, and then they start disappearing and dying and stuff like that. The whole background to this is that years ago when they were children, like 11 years old, there was a mishap with a Ouija board that killed one of their little sisters and burned another one like face so badly that she's like had to have reconstructive surgery and stuff like that. It was pretty clear, and there's this new girl there too that was not part of the original group, Celestia, and it's pretty clear who Celestia really is, like from the get go. I think once you've read enough of these books, you kind of can tell pretty immediately how they're gonna go. But it was still fun. There were aspects to it that I wasn't expecting. I liked some of the characters. I liked Rachel. She was just a bitch, but she was a really fun one. I don't know, it was fun. Enjoyable, but not like one of my favorite Christopher Pike books, so give it 3 out of 5 stars. Then I read probably one of my favorite books of the year so far. Oh my god, this one just like, it took me so long to read because I started it when I was doing the read 3 books a day thing, but I'm so sad about that because it was so fucking good, and like I read like the last, I want to say 200 pages in like a night. It was so good. That is The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. This is a horror novel. Stephen Graham Jones has been really, this one, and I think his upcoming one has a lot of buzz. I have it pre-ordered. It's My Heart is a Chainsaw. I'll put up a little picture here, but he's been getting a lot of buzz recently for his more recent books, but he's been around for a while. If you look up his backlog, he's got quite a few books out, and so I ordered another one of his books off of Thrift Books on my last book buying day, so that's exciting. But this one is about these 4 Native American men who, when they were young, I want to say like early 20s, late teens, they illegally hunted elk when they weren't supposed to, where they weren't supposed to, and one of them was carrying a calf, and the 4 of them kind of have gone different ways. 2 of them are still on the reservation. One of them, he has a job and a wife, and on like non-reservation land, and one of them is kind of drifting around in North Dakota. I think that it takes place in Montana for the most part. I looked up, that's where the Blackfeet Indian mostly are in Montana, which makes sense for the whole North Dakota thing. But it was kind of fun. I mean, not that the part that took place in North Dakota was real happy or anything, but it was fun that North Dakota was there, I guess. Anyway, and then after, I think it's like 10 years after this happens, they this happens in like the first chapter of the book, so this is not a spoiler, but the one who was in North Dakota gets beaten to death outside of a bar. And then weird stuff is happening, and it's just, oh my gosh. It took some twists that I wasn't expecting. Like, I think the first part of this book is kind of slow, but then once the second and third deaths happen, is just like, it comes kind of out of left field, and you're like, holy fucking shit. The last part nearly made me cry. Like, I was almost crying from the last bit. Like, it was sad. Like, the part that took place with the 2 guys on the reservation, I really enjoyed it. Cass was probably my favorite character. I liked him a lot. But yeah, this one was amazing. It was beautiful. It was one of those horror novels where, yeah, it's a horror novel, but it's also like about like family and so much more than just a horror novel kind of thing. And it was very emotional. It was very good. One of my favorites. I think this is quite possibly my favorite book I've read of the year. And so it's definitely going to be on my favorites list. Whether it's number one remains yet to be seen, but it's definitely going to be on that list. Give it 5 out of 5 stars. It was amazing, and like I said, I'm starting to collect more of his books, both as they come out and kind of going through and picking up his backlog. I have another one of his books. I have a novella he wrote. I have Mapping the Interior somewhere in the book wall. So I'm excited to get to that now. I mean, I've always been like vaguely excited for it because it's a horror novella, but yeah. And finally finished this one last night, The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix. I finally read a Grady Hendrix book. I've been kind of slowly collecting all of them. I think the only ones I don't own are Horror Store and Paperbacks from Hell. But this one is about a support group for final girls, and you can really match each of the final girls to their movie, which is really fun. That was really fun to do. Like it starts, like it gets clear. Like when one of them talks about their killer being the Dream King killer, it's like, oh, that's Nightmare on Elm Street, and then one of them is, she's not gonna touch leather ever again. Like, oh, that's Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Babysitter, oh, that's Halloween kind of thing. That was really fun. I like that a lot. It was interesting, the one that he chose for the main girl, because it's not one that I was super familiar with. Like, I had to do a little bit of digging, but then when it went farther into it, and he mentioned that this is not plot related at all, but this is more like backstory related, so I'm not counting as spoilers. He mentioned that her monster's little brother had gotten into an altercation with somebody about garbage cans before going on a spree, and that is, I think, one of the most infamous bad horror sequel scenes of all times is Garbage Day, and then he shoots the guy, like, so it's funny. I really enjoyed it. I feel like Grady Hendrix and I are like the same person. But what the whole thing with this one is that now people are coming after these final girls again. And it's a whole thing. But I just feel such a connection in my soul to Grady Hendrix and what he does and what he loves, because he is very clearly a very huge shitty slasher movie fan. Like, there is so much love in these pages, and it is so much fun. I really enjoyed reading it. I know some people have problems with it because it's kind of convoluted, and the main character's kind of stupid, but it really does read like a slasher movie, and I think slasher movies can get super convoluted, and the main characters can get super stupid, and I did not get that, and I did not see that last twist coming. Like, that last twist came completely out of nowhere, and I loved it. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It wasn't my favorite, but it was a lot of fun. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, and I'm excited to read more of his books. Currently, I am rereading this giant hardcover of Nightmares and Dreamscapes by Stephen King. I have not yet started it. Like I said, I just finished Final Girl Support Group last night, so I have not gotten a chance to start this, but this is what I will be reading. These are the books I read this past week. That is all for today. I will talk to you later, and goodbye.